This Steve Jones Show podcast is now loading. The Steve Jones Show podcast is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Purdy Insurance, Brewers Outlet, and Sunbury Motor Company. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Steve Jones Show. Hope everybody had a great holiday weekend. We had Phil Steele on to kick off the show. If you missed that, make sure to check out the podcast on Spotify or wherever you get your podcast. Had a fun conversation about the Nittany Lions being number one, some little in-depth on the Big Ten. We talked some ACC, some SEC, some Big 12. So it should get you a little whet your appetite for 6 weeks from now when the season finally starts and we can stop talking about money and actually start talking about games maybe, hopefully. But money will be involved then too, I'm sure. What's going on this week around here this weekend?
Absolutely. Yeah. What about the Little League party? That's what I
was going into. Selinsgrove 8, 9, and 10 baseball and the Major Division baseball. The kids that eventually go to Williamsport, they both won district titles this week. We have sectional tournaments, which is the next step up. The Selinsgrove 8, 9, and 10 softball are in the championship game for that. Milton 9-11's opened their section tournament tonight down in Pottsville. I believe they play Blue Ridge at 7:30. And then Milton and Warrior Run 9-11 softball are still playing their District 13 best-of-3 series. Their second game is tonight. Warrior Run won the opener last night.
Yeah, there you go. And where are you going to be? I
am off tonight.
Oh, good. About time.
Yeah, I'm doing some I'm either doing Schick Senior, the Schick Seniors. No, I'm sorry. It's the Schick Junior Division, the 13 and 14-year-olds. They open the state tournament in Loyal Sock on Wednesday. I believe I'm going to that game on Wednesday.
Okay. All right, good. Yeah, that works. Yeah, I'm off tonight. And then I've got baseball the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday this week. The Spikes, by the way, are playing remarkable baseball right now, to be honest with you. They've won 9 of the last 11. This is the last week of the first half. And the winner of the first half hosts the championship game. Now, we'll see how the week plays out, but the Spikes will have a 5-game homestand starting tomorrow, and they go into it with a 1.5-game lead. So, and they're playing with great confidence. They played a game 2 weeks ago. Yeah, I guess it was 2 weeks ago. They lost the first game of the series at Williamsport, and they just weren't playing well. I mean, they went through a period of time, the first 3 weeks, they didn't really play well. There's certain areas they pitched well, but overall didn't play well. And they played Williamsport, first game of the series, didn't win. Then they won a game 11-2. And it seemed like it just, like the switch went up. Like they flipped the switch. Now, they did lose the next game, but then they went to Trenton and they swept the weekend series. Right? And they've been winning ever since. They've won 9 of their last 11. And so now they're sitting there in first place with 5 games to play in this first half. They're a 1.5 games up on West Virginia. And Like Williamsport last year was the winner of the first half. In the second half, I think in the second half of the season, I think Williamsport won something like 7 games. They were lousy, right? But because they won the first half, they hosted the championship game, and for one night they resurrected themselves and they won it with the group that had won 7 games in the second half, right? So, so we'll see what happens with them.
Well, there might be some turnover next week, right?
Oh no, there'll be, I would say, 90% turnover.
Okay. I'm assuming most of those guys plan to be drafted.
Right. Or go back to college.
Yeah.
Or go back to college, because those who stay, those who are here in the second half will get paid. So the players going back to college that are not going to go to the draft or aren't drafted, they're going to go to school. I mean, Todd, they can't play in the second half. They can't get outside money to play the sport for somebody.
Well, what does it become then?
These are players trying to keep their careers alive.
Okay.
And what's happened many times, not many times, I should say sometimes, there are players during that second half that get picked up by teams as free agents. Like, the Spikes had a pitcher who's doing really well. This is 2 years ago. He signed with the Brewers. He's still with the Brewers organization. So several players do get picked up in that second half because these guys are just trying to keep their careers alive at this point. Is it possible, to somehow keep your career going? Maybe get signed by somebody, get invited to an instructional camp, something.
Is it a little easier for somebody like State College to find people just because Penn State's in town than it would be for like Williamsport?
No. The league makes the assignments.
I see.
The league makes the assignments for the most part, except for the holdovers. The holdovers, and I already know that there are going to be at least 3 to 5 holdovers for the Spikes going to the second half. And because they've already been here, you're more attached to them. Right, because you know them. You already know them. You know them. You don't have to sit there and get to know somebody. Every once in a while there's somebody that's back from last year, too. But, yeah, that's how it works.
Like, I knew how they did the rosters at the beginning. I didn't realize that the second half was paid, though.
Yeah, I mean, they're not making a lot of money.
Well, no.
No, but they're getting something to do it.
I was going to say I wouldn't be surprised it wasn't per game.
No.
No, it's a salary?
No.
No.
No, they get money for it. It's not like the movie Fast Break, where Gabe Kaplan was coaching a team in Nevada, and he brought 4 players with him from New York, including Bernard King, Mike Warren, who played at UCLA, who was in Hill Street Blues for years, and they needed one other guy to round it out, so they had like 3 bench players and one other starter they just found out there, and he got paid by the win in the movie. So he wins the first 22 games. Like, there's nobody else has Bernard King. Right? And so I think he got something like $200 a game or something like that for a win. $200 a win. So the athletic director in the back room is with him one day. He says, that's $800, that's $1,000, that's $1,200. And then he gets to like $4,400, and he kind of looks around, gives him another $100 as a bonus per win.
Go buy yourself something nice.
Yeah, it's like, he says, right. Now, he would then get, the deal was, if I recall the movie correctly, he would then get a permanent long-term contract if he essentially beat the rival from Nevada, which Darwin, it's not labeled that way, but it's UNLV. Okay? Which he does.
Not UNLV, not the bastion of... I don't think I ever brought this up, but since you said UNLV, did you see that Josh Pastner was having trouble out there for a little bit when he was first hired? I think Seth Davis did the story. The Tarkanians still hate Lute Olson so much that Jerry Tarkanian's sons were making a big deal about Josh Pastner playing and coaching for Lute Olson. Because they think it's Lute Olson that turned Jerry Tarkanian in all those years ago.
Oh. Wow.
I was like, wow. Lute Olson, Jerry Tarkanian, that's the 90s.
Well, I know I've told this story before. One of the greatest surprises of my entire career, I had to go up to Joe's office to record something with him, something he needed. In other words, Joe had requested it as something he needed to have recorded, and then I was supposed to send it to whomever on his behalf. So I showed up, and I'm in the office, and they said, hey, you can go in now. And I'm walking in, and Jerry Tarkanian's walking out of Joe's office. Hey, how are you? I'm like, what the heck? Under the category of last person I expected to see today was Jerry Tarkanian. Now, I talked to him for a couple of minutes, and I said, Coach, I don't think I've seen you since the NIT when you were at Fresno State. Oh, yeah, Steve, that's right. You were there with Penn State. I'm like, hey, it's Jerry Tarkanian. Just happened to be in town.
Imagine telling people back then that Jerry Tarkanian and Joe Paterno were friendly.
I mean, he was in the office. That's who I was waiting. I didn't realize he was the person that was in there. I was just waiting in the outer office. And finally, Cynthia or somebody, I think it was Cynthia, said, hey, Cynthia Alt, who is one of the nicest people ever. Cynthia Alt said, hey, Steve, he's all set now. He said, you can go in. So I'm going in. Also, the door opens. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Now, at least he didn't have the towel in his mouth. That was good.
I was going to say, does he walk around with the towel in real life, too?
No. Now, I guess politically, one of his sons is in state government. I think his daughter is, too, in Nevada.
They went to the less slimier business.
I just think that's just so low. Man, the longer you do this show, the more you're getting like me.
Maybe we were more alike than you originally thought.
Maybe. Oh, goodness. But that was one of those, whoa. Okay. That was a little different that day. I mean, when Krzyzewski was here, I knew Mike was already coming up, so that was that part I knew. But this one, completely out of left field, which is fine. It's fine.
Keeps you on your toes.
Sure does. Why? Then, of course, we went in and Joe took care of it in one take, and we were done.
I'm sure time-wise and at that point skill-wise, it wasn't that hard for him.
No. And, it's one of those things where you always made sure that whatever you did not take up a lot of his time. That way, if you didn't take up a lot of time, he then wanted to spend more time with you. That sounds strange, but that's if you had the ability to take up as little time as possible with him, he wanted to spend more time with you. But he would spend more time with you after you were done. Right? Because he knew that he knew after all those years you weren't there to waste his time. Right? Yeah.
we know how busy they are now. It was only slightly less busy then.
Yeah, I know. No, I don't know how anybody does this today, to be honest with you. And I'm around it all the time, and I still don't know how they manage all this.
He's got to James has only got to be running on 3 or 4 hours sleep and less than that sometimes.
I mean, look, every time you turn around, there's always something away from the practice field they have to handle. Something, whether it's, a recruit's in town, or a fundraiser, or, money people are here, or, oh, by the way, we have to make sure that, we need to re-recruit the team. Or, there's this long list all the time of things that you need to take care of. That you would think would be, I don't know, or parents. That was always one of the elements that Joe told me a long time ago. This is going back, 20 plus years. I remember I was in his office one day, and we were taping the pregame show up in his office. And he said, Steve, I just got talking to, he was telling me which parent he was talking to. That's because I was out in the outer office. He says, I apologize for making you wait. He said, I was just on the phone with, I'm not going to tell you who the parent was. He says, that's one of the toughest parts of this job. He says, dealing with the parents. And my first thought, now this is 20 plus years ago. It's different than it is now, Todd. Okay? I think it's worse now. And I remember sitting there thinking, you're Joe Paterno, and you have to deal with the parents? I didn't say it out loud to him. I did not, but I thought it. But it doesn't really matter. That's still their child, and they want to get their point. And I think James has to deal with that more than ever now. Because what happens is that when people are trying to coerce somebody to transfer, they don't just call them up and go, hey, Todd, how about transferring to, Wichita State? Right? You can't do that. But they know who your representative is. They know who your parents are. They know who your high school coach was, and they get word to you through the agent or through the high school coach or through the parents or a relative. And then guess who has to deal with it? The head coach.
I mean, I was just going to ask, is it worse now? Because I can't imagine it's not worse now.
Well, it's a lot worse now because, look, years ago when you transferred, you had to sit out a year. 20 plus years ago, you had to sit out a year. It was a big decision. You were now going to cut out a year of your life not playing football, basketball, whatever it may be, in order to make the move. And you go way back, Todd Blackledge, Jeff Hostetler. Jeff Hostetler was the starting quarterback the first 3 games of the 1980 season, and he split time with Todd Blackledge. Well, finally, when they went to play Missouri in Game 4, after they had lost to Nebraska 21-7, Joe decided to start Todd Blackledge, and Blackledge played the entire game, and they won at Missouri. Like 29-21 or something like that, right? Todd played, and Todd himself ran on an option play, ran 43 yards for a touchdown. Todd did, right? And he never lost his job. Now Todd got banged up in the Temple game later that year, and Hostetler came off the bench and rallied the team. But then Jeff transferred to West Virginia. So he had to sit out the 81 season and then played there in 82 and 83. Now, it worked out great. He ended up marrying Don Nehlen's daughter. He ended up guiding the Giants to the Super Bowl title in Super Bowl 25 against the Bills. He was the starting quarterback of the game. A lot of things worked out great for Jeff. Got money as a free agent from Oakland with the Raiders. So it worked out for both guys. But he had to sit out a year to do it. Now, today, you leave and you're already playing the next year. It's a completely different ball game now. By taking out that 1 year that you had to sit out, right, it made the decision to leave someplace exponentially easier.
It's just the other part of it is his parents are more emboldened with that stuff now, too.
Oh, there's no question.
I was trying to be polite with the word emboldened.
I know. It's okay.
That's something I had not thought of until you said it. I just can't imagine a parent calling Joe Paterno about playing time. But then again, I think I've told this story before. The streak of when Southern was on those state title streaks. There was a freshman that was in with that group of freshmen with Julian that only played their freshman year. They transferred out because the father felt that Jim Roth didn't know football.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, the kid turned out to be Division I.
Good.
I mean, it worked out for him for the most part.
Good. No, that's fine. I mean,
but he said he didn't think I knew what I was doing. All right.
Yeah. Next. Yeah. And you're going to run into that all the time. It's going to get worse now because you have the ability to transfer anytime you want. Not only that, in high school, you have now players. Okay, let's go back 20 years. 20 years ago, there is no way in heck that somebody was changing school districts to play. Right?
Well, they've done it's one of the things that PIAA has done a good job in this state is it's not quite so bad in this state, but reading the NFL draft coverage and Florida and California, how many of those guys played for 4 different schools in 4 years is wild.
Well, no, it's like, remember the player Rozier Bolden who played here as a freshman at Penn State was really good. Was a really good player here.
The guy that ended up at Iowa State and Gonzaga?
Yep.
Okay.
He went to Iowa State, played 2 years there, then he went to Gonzaga and started and played 2 years there. Again, Rozier was a good player. And personally, I mean, as a guy, I liked him. Right? Very much. Good kid. But he played at junior high and high school. He played at 6 different schools. So when it came time for him to transfer, I mean, am I supposed to be surprised that he transferred and played at 3 different schools in college?
You know this as well as I do. You probably can't put that on the kid. That's probably, especially early on, that's got to be parents.
Oh, sure. That has a lot to do with it. I mean, he's the one playing. That's why I mentioned, in junior high and high school, he played, way it goes, for 6 different schools. So am I surprised he transferred and played for 3 schools in college? No. And I don't know what Rozier's doing today. I assume he's playing overseas.
I mean, and you have to be good for that 6th guy to take you, don't you?
Yeah.
For that 6th high school coach to go, all right, we'll try it.
No, again, you know what? I mean, that is, look, he's a talented guy. That's why people wanted him.
Yeah.
Okay? Let's see. He played for Millwood School, Carlisle School, Bishop Sullivan, Huntington Prent, and Massanutten Military Academy.
Party time, game time, or just fun time. Doesn't matter what time it is because it's Brewers Outlet time. The Beverage Supermarket has the area's largest beer selection. Imports, microbrews, ciders, and domestics. Pick from over 100 ice-cold 12-packs and dozens of 24-ounce singles. Soda, snacks, hot sauces, fresh roasted peanuts. Make it one-stop party shopping, and don't forget the pickle bar. So whatever you're celebrating or just doing it up, Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street, Sunbury wants to see you. And thank you for your years of patronage.
Hi, this is Season. For over 100 years, the Purdy Insurance Agency has been protecting families and businesses of the greater Susquehanna Valley and beyond. With the experience of our trained and knowledgeable staff, you can rest assured that your needs will be evaluated and met by some of the industry's best representatives. No matter what your insurance needs are, call Purdy Insurance today at 570-286-5855. Visit our website at purdyinsurance.com or check us out on Facebook to see what we can do for you.
Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Now, from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Half hour brought to you by good friends at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket, imports, domestics, microbrews, the best selection of beer anywhere, wine coolers, water, soft drinks, snacks. They roast their peanuts fresh and out every day. 6 great flavors of slushies. Ready-to-drink cocktails, High Noon, Jack Daniels, Crown Royal, and the Pickle Bar, led by the Barrels and the Dills, indeed second to none. All at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. By the way, if you're to continue Roger Bolton for a moment, Bolton played professionally in Antwerp a year ago and now is in Slovakia, I believe. No, Slovenia. He's in Slovenia. So that's where he is. Okay? So.
If you don't mind traveling, it's a good gig.
Well, this is what, look, many people do. They play pro. I mean, Joe Christman played, he was outlining all the countries he played in. Tyler Smith told me he played everywhere from Japan to Uruguay to Europe. You know, Pete Lisicki was fortunate. He was able to play most of the time in Italy because he did not count, believe it or not, as a foreign player. Because his grandmother lived in, was an Italian citizen. He was the beneficiary of that, so he played most of his career in Italy. But these guys move all over the place. Ukraine, Spain, France, Italy, Belgium, Lithuania, everywhere.
I was going to say that I was just looking up. J.R. Holden played for Bucknell's former point guard, played for 12 years in Russia.
Yeah.
He's now the vice president with the Pistons.
Right. Well, it's interesting. In women's basketball, a lot of players do play in Russia in the off WNBA season.
I was wondering if they still did just because of the
Brittany Griner situation.
Well, that, and I'm not sure the oligarchs have as much money as they once did.
That's possible, because I know Kelly Mazzani played over in Russia for a while.
I think Dina Taurasi spent a lot of her WNBA career doing both.
Yeah. I mean, look, you have to be able to make money, and the WNBA season. 2 things. Number one, the WNBA season only takes up part of the year. And the WNBA paycheck is okay, not great for most players.
Well, I mean, even the stars are what was it, like $200,000, and they were making millions in Russia. I mean,
right, exactly, much more, no question about that. So, I mean, that's how it went. It's interesting. Doug Gottlieb, who is the head coach of the University of Green Bay, but still maintains his talk show, was talking about the expansion of the WNBA. And I think that he made a couple of interesting points. I understand why they want to expand. And they're going to do it one team each year. It's going to be, I think Toronto's next. Then it's Cleveland, Detroit, then Philadelphia last. Matt's mad that Josh Harris is going to own the Philadelphia team. I don't quite get what the issue is, but that's me.
He should be putting all his brain power into the Sixers and nothing else.
No, they've won 2 championships in their history. I don't know. And his point now, they do get money from expansion fees. But he did make a very interesting point about watering down the product. Can they support 18 teams? And okay. And in supporting 18 teams, how many of those will be, as I just pointed out about Secunda and Crispin and Tyler Smith and Pete Lisicki, what were they in Europe? They're foreign players. Well, how many foreign players would come over here to play in the WNBA? And this is Doug's point. It's not that they're not good players. They are good players, fundamentally sound players. But who in this country knows who any of them are?
When we were talking about it last week, that was my initial thought. Is there the depth in the women's game to have 18 professional teams?
I don't know, Todd. I don't know. And like I don't know if I made it on this point on this show or somewhere else. This is what Caitlin Clark means to the league. Okay? They were going to be playing, and I think it was one of those, it may have been a Champions Cup game, whatever it may be. And the price per ticket, I'm talking about on the market, okay, not at the box office. The market was $75. As soon as they found out she was not playing because of an injury, you know what the number went to?
I don't know.
3. But that tells you everything about where this league is. If she's playing, it is perceived the ticket value is $75. If she is not playing in the game, no matter who else is out there, doesn't matter who else is out there, the ticket price is $3. I mean, that is what she means to the league. I mean, that's what she means to the league.
I mean, I think we had this conversation last summer. I'm not sure they realize that's what she means to the league. I think that's their biggest issue right now.
I think that the front office knows what she means to the league. I think the players are furious that they don't mean more to the league.
Oh.
How about that? How about that way of putting it?
All the books I read about the 70s NBA, I feel like that's what the WNBA, it's the old physicalness, and it seems like, one, they take it out a lot of the times on Caitlin Clark, and two, the officials have no idea how to officiate this physicalness.
They have no clue. No clue whatsoever. Nope. And this is, but there's a bottom line to it.
Yeah.
I mean, the players can't accept what she means to the league because they think since they've been there, they mean more, and they don't understand that, like, look, the league lost $50 million with her. Well, without her, how much money are you going to lose?
I don't think they want to contemplate that.
Oh, I don't think they can accept it.
No.
See, that's the issue. The issue is that they can't accept what she means to the league. They cannot check their egos in at the door to accept what she means to the league. And I don't know why you have an ego when you're in an organization that's losing $40 to $50 million a year.
I doubt they know that.
Well, one of the reasons that you don't know, that they may not know that, one of the reasons they may not know that is that they try to hide what the losses are. They try to hide how much the subsidy is from the NBA over and over again. They try to hide. I mean, do you know how many of these teams? Okay, when I say that Atlanta, the Atlanta Dream, right? Where does the Atlanta Dream play?
I'm assuming in the NBA arena.
That's right. That's what everybody assumes. They don't. They play in the G League arena. One by one. Now, New York still plays in Madison Square Garden. Indiana still plays at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Okay? But one by one, these teams are all moving to smaller arenas. It's happening all over the lot. They are moving to smaller arenas because the rent of the big places is too much. They don't get enough ticket sales to cover it. I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into this that nobody ever writes about. Nobody ever talks about. It's almost like it's a taboo topic. Like you're not allowed to talk about, okay? I mean, there were all these stories written about when Iowa put out its expense report, okay? And they were able to get it through, how Penn State put out its expense report by January 30 this year? So it came out. Every single story was talking about Iowa women's basketball. They sold more tickets than the men. True. They sold out road games, things like that. Like all these stories about it. And not one sentence was in there. And I read like 5 or 6 of these stories. Not one sentence was in there, Todd, about how much money they made. Not one sentence. So finally, 2 weeks ago, through the Department of Education, the Equity and Athletics website, they updated all the numbers for everybody for fiscal year that ended June 30th, 2024, which would have been Caitlin Clark's last season at Iowa. Iowa women's basketball lost $3.6 million. Now, all the stories that were written in early February about the impact of Iowa women's basketball, selling out arenas, selling out Carver Hawkeye, outdoing the men, which, by the way, all the attendance is all accurate and absolutely true. Absolutely true. Right? I mean, she is, without question, the single most popular athlete in that state. Football, basketball, anything. It's Caitlin Clark. No getting around it. But not one story mentioned that despite everything, they lost money. And not only that, they lost a boatload of money.
I think part of the issue is in this fractured age that if you say something negative, that you're being misogynistic or racist or something along those lines instead of speaking the truth. I think that's part of the issue. Just people don't want to say something like that.
But the reason I talk about it is that I'm trying to get people to understand that if you don't have a huge media deal these days, it is really difficult to make money in sports. I mean, that's the point I try to bring about to people all the time. So when the ACC TV deal for football and everything is what it is, and the Big Ten is what it is, the ACC is way behind. Just in football, they're behind.
I don't think people realize in general how much TV money plays a role in all sports and why all sports are doing so well. they're making money. They're not making a lot of money off of people showing up. They're making their big amount of money from the TV deal.
Right. And what happens is that you see a sellout, and Iowa women's basketball selling out left and right, correct?
Correct.
When she was there. I mean, it was a show. That was one of the bummers. She played here in 2023 and drew a really good crowd, but did not sell out the Jordan Center, but drew a really good crowd. Okay. And it was one of the bummers she didn't come here to play because everybody would have shown up to watch her. They'd have sold the place out a year ago, right?
Oh, definitely.
Right? I mean, it would have been, because Dick Girardi even asked me, he says, are they playing Iowa at the Jordan Center this year? I said, no, they have to play them out there. She goes, it's too bad. They're gone. And that's the way it was with her. And despite all the sellouts, it gives you the perception that they are this huge financial success. And I've tried to make the same point about wrestling. And people are like, oh, he hates wrestling. I'm just telling you what the numbers say. Okay? You sell out everything, and all you're doing is lessening the losses. Okay? They ought to put more money. No, they shouldn't be putting more money into it. Okay, guess what? They're already. What's the difference between losing $2 million and $3 million?
$1 million, but in the overall scheme of things.
Yeah, I know. I mean, and that's. I mean, in other words, and then I'll get, hey, well, when they're on TV, they should get that money. No, that's not what the contract says. The contract is for football and men's basketball. That's what it is for. Okay? It's specifically spelled out that way. And by the way, you're along for the ride, and anytime we can put you on, you're on.
Well, let's be honest. They wouldn't be on TV if there wasn't a Big Ten network. Maybe one dual meet a year.
Not on national TV.
No.
I mean, when's the last time in the regular season Fox, ESPN, Fox Sports 1 had a wrestling match on?
Yeah, I think the only way they do it is you'd have to have a number one versus number two. There'd have to be an amateur wrestler famous enough for the average person to know it, which it probably isn't happening. They would need.
Penn State and Iowa wrestle every year. Penn State and Iowa wrestle every year, and 9 times out of 10, it's 1 versus 2.
Oh, I don't mean specifically just 1 versus 2. I think you would need wrestling's Caitlin Clark. How's that? You would need somebody that would be a proven draw, which they don't. I mean, what amateur wrestler has ever been a proven draw ever?
Yeah. Obviously, Cale and Dan Gable. But even then, they'd be the two. Yeah. Nobody else. They've had 1 versus 2, and guess what? Fox has never picked it up.
No.
They've had 1 versus 2 contract. ESPN's never picked it up. Never. They do the NCAAs.
I think wrestling has been so ensconced in this area for 100 years that I think people think, I think they think that there's more interest in the sport than there is in the other parts of the country.
Well, okay. The example is this. And again, it's never talked about, but I'll talk about it. Okay? Again, people should know what the deal is. Right? Penn State was wrestling for the national championship in 2023. I want to say it was in Tulsa, Oklahoma City, one of the two, right? It was in Oklahoma. And the NCAA wrestling championship was directly opposite the NCAA basketball tournament second round. And Penn State's wrestling for the title again, like they do every year because they're the best. How many times have you heard me say they're the best? How many times have you heard me say it's the single best program since John Wooden's UCLA dynasty, right? How many times have I said that? Okay, so this has nothing to do with wrestling, but it's with the facts of where it is. That went head-to-head. Penn State basketball, second-round NCAA tournament against Texas, and the NCAA wrestling championships. Okay? Penn State basketball with Texas that night had 6.6 million viewers. How many did the wrestling championship have?
700, 800,000?
Less. 452,000. And it's something like, look, okay, that's why the TV contracts are with football and basketball programs. Okay? They have the ability to draw, in a second-round NCAA tournament game, $6.6 million.
I guess I'm a little surprised that people didn't realize that football and basketball had been subsidizing everything. I mean, this isn't like it's a new phenomenon.
Jeez, this goes back. God, Joe Paterno talked about this with me, and he did it on this show. Or maybe not on this show, because I didn't start this show on WKOK till right when Joe passed away. But Joe talked about that to me for years. He says, Steve, he says, to be honest, we're funding everybody.